over the past 3 days after the stablecoin exchange at the heart of DeFi on Ethereum fell victim to an exploit. Joining us now to discuss is the co-founder of blockchain auditing firm BlockSec, Yajin Zhou. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks for having me here.
It's our pleasure. Can you just first explain, take a step back, just explain to us how all this has happened? Because I know for sure that Lawrence is very upset how this can happen in the decentralized world.
Sure. I think this is because of the bug of the compiler used by the co-finance to compile their smart contract. There's a compiler called a Vyper compiler. So this compiler is used to compile the decentralized application of co-finance. And because of the bugs inside this compiler, some security mechanisms enforced inside the decentralized applications are not effective. So the attackers, they exploited these vulnerabilities, and to drain the pools and to, I think the loss is around 47 million US dollars because some of the funds have been returned by the white hat to the co-finance.
How many pools were affected by this? Last I read it was 5, but is it more than that, or?
I think around 5. Yeah, I don't have the exact number, but it's around 5.
And as far as that goes, I mean, I guess, to what Amitaj is hinting at is sort of, I think we'll get into how or how Curve's founder basically came in, had to step up to save the situation. Can you explain that? And also, how can something be called decentralized if it requires the action of one individual to bail it out of these kind of problems?
Yeah, I think you made a very good point. So basically, the co-finance, the decentralized application of co-finance, they do not have an emergency mechanism to pause the protocol because this is a decentralized world, right? Everyone wants that. We cannot have a centralized role to control this. But in some cases like this, if something bad happens, we have no way, we have no last resort, to solve this issue. So I think this is one lesson we learned from these security issues. We cannot just say we have pure decentralized world. We need to have some last resort to prevent something bad happen. And I think another lesson we learned from this security incidents is that we cannot always trust the infrastructure we use to build our decentralized applications, because whether this infrastructure has been well tested or well evaluated are still unknown. We should put more resources, to evaluate the security of these infrastructures, which decentralized applications are relying on. So this is, I think, the lessons learned.
I've seen a bunch of things to that point. There are a lot of things floating around the Twitter sphere, or X sphere, I guess is what we have to call it now, showing potential vulnerable pools out there. Does that help? I mean, there are some criticism, people saying, why are you telling other people where these vulnerabilities are, and you're just inviting hackers?
Okay.
But is there a method by which people can say, hey, here are some vulnerable places, here's how we could check the code, etc.? I mean, do we have to kind of wait for these iterations and attacks before the market gets it right? How long will it be? Months, years from now, before we have these foolproof mechanisms in place to keep hackers from essentially attacking these pools?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So let me be very clear. So we are not alerting the vulnerabilities of the co-finance. We are alerting an ongoing attack of the co-finance. It's a very different. So the vulnerability means that there is a loophole inside the decentralized application, but no one has exploited this loophole to gain profit. An attack means that someone is already find this vulnerability and perform attacks. So basically, we need to alert the ongoing attacks, not the vulnerabilities. That's because if we alert the vulnerabilities, the bad guys, the bad guys, they will exploit these vulnerabilities because it's not public. But for the attack, we think it's necessary to alert the attack because the attack is currently happening. That means the bad guys already figure out everything, and we need to alert users, to withdraw their funds immediately from the pool instead of just waiting to be drained everything, every tokens, every assets they have. So this is the critical difference between the vulnerabilities and the hacks.
Mm-hmm.
So just to follow up on Lawrence's question here about, centralization versus decentralization, and just looking at the larger picture here for the vast majority of the planet who has no idea how to make sense of this, why does this keep happening? There's so many hacks. A lot of them have been aimed at DeFi. The whole idea of DeFi, right, is to avoid a honeypot. It's decentralized, right? There's not one central thing. That's the whole, it had one job kind of, So why does this keep happening? What's the common theme through all these hacks?
Yeah. I think every coin has two sides. So from one side, the decentralized things means that we do not need to trust one single person like the centralized world. But from another perspective, the decentralized and openness means that everyone can interact with the protocol, everyone can find the vulnerability of the protocol, and everyone can attack the protocol, right? So if it's a centralized applications, then you may need some permissions, to interact with this protocol. But for decentralized application, everyone can attack. Everyone can attack the protocol if there is a vulnerability. So this is a dark side of the decentralized world. So in summary, I think we have two sides of a coin: the good side and the bad side. So we cannot just say decentralized is good or bad without consider all the advantages and the disadvantages.
All right. Curve founder Michael Egorov has floated a new liquidity pool to buy time, and Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, the usual knight in shining armor of crypto, has purchased about 5 million CRV. What does that mean? Is that a placebo effect or the medicine?
That means that because the price of the CRV token is decreasing, so he needed to put more tokens as a collateral in order to be avoided to be liquidated, because the value of the collateral is decreasing. I think this the consequence of this may be unknown. We will see, because whether they will affect other pools are still unknown. And whether there are some other consequences will cause, we are unknown about this.
BlockSec tweeted about the reentrancy bug in Vyper, a programming language. I'll say that again: Vyper, a programming language used to power parts of the Curve system. Why is this significant in this entire event?
Okay, that's because many applications are built using this compiler, right? So if there is a bug inside the compiler, even the developers of the application, they do not make any fault. But because of the bug inside the compiler, the generated decentralized applications will be buggy and will be vulnerable, will be attacked. That's exactly the case of how co-finance is. Right, so the decentralized application is right because they use the knock to prevent the reentrancy, but the compiler has bugs. The compiler doesn't enforce the correct logic of the decentralized applications. That's the issue, and it's a fundamental issue.
Now, my understanding is if we get down to below 37 cents on Curve, the CRV, that we're going to have that he'll be liquidated. Do we know about some of the after effects that could happen in that case, or is that still remains to be seen?
I think we will wait to see. So I cannot give you the exact consequence currently.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Andy. That was great. That was the co-founder of BlockSec, Yajin Zhou. Thank you very much for coming on. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at crypto's performance in July after the break.